My stepdaughter said she hated when I opened my mouth. Now all she hears is silence. I left, shut down the transfers, deleted her number. Even her mom didn't see it coming. Don't forget to subscribe and share your experiences below. Let's get started. I always believed that patience could melt even the coldest heart. A belief born not from optimism, but from necessity. A belief sharpened across years of standing quietly in the background, nodding at slights, smiling through cold shoulders, waiting. Always waiting. Waiting for a child who never wanted me. Waiting for a woman who never asked her to. I married Mary 8 years ago. She had a daughter from her first marriage, Chloe. 12 years old at the time. All long legs and sharp looks and that preteen blend of cruelty and confusion. She didn't say much to me when I moved in. She didn't say much to anyone. But I remember thinking, that's okay. She's hurting. Her dad left. She doesn't trust the world yet. So I told myself I could be the one to change that. Not through force. Not through discipline. But by showing up. I did everything they say a good stepfather should do. I kept my distance at first. Then I started showing up in smaller ways. Morning rides to school. Notes in her lunchbox when she forgot something important. You got this. Proud of you. That kind of thing. She never mentioned them. Just crumpled them into the bottom of her bag. I thought time would change things. I bought her birthday gifts with more thought than most biological fathers would. Spent hours online finding the right brands, the trends I didn't understand but knew mattered. I helped with homework when Mary was at work. I sat through school plays, recitals, soccer matches in freezing rain. I even let her friends stay over, made snacks for them, cleaned up after, stayed invisible when they giggled about boys upstairs. Always invisible. But that's the job, right? To be the scaffolding they pretend isn't there. But lean on anyway. Mary said Chloe would warm up eventually. She's just cautious, she told me once. Don't take it personally. But the truth was, she never encouraged it. Never sat her down and said, he's in your life now. Show him some respect. No, she let me carry the weight of the effort. She watched me try, and never stepped in when I was dismissed. The first time Chloe said something cruel, Mary laughed. I'd made a dumb dad joke. One of those harmless, corny lines about vegetables. Chloe rolled her eyes and said, God, you're so lame. No wonder you don't have your own kids. Mary chuckled. Come on, be nice, she said half-heartedly. But she didn't mean it. And Chloe knew it. I brushed it off. Told myself it was nothing. You can't force love. You can't even ask for it. You just show up, over and over, until one day they realize you're not going anywhere. That was my philosophy. Years passed. High school came. The attitude got sharper, the walls thicker. Chloe became the kind of teenager who walked through the house like it owed her something. Headphones always in. Eye contact always avoided. She'd walk past me in the kitchen without a word. I'd say, good morning, and she'd sigh like I'd asked her to dig a ditch. Mary kept telling me to give her space. I did, but space turned into distance, and distance turned into silence, and silence turned into something meaner. She didn't ask me for anything anymore. She asked Mary always, even when I was the one holding the wallet, even when I was the one who bought the car she drove to school. Mom, can I have gas money? Mom, I need a new charger. Never a glance in my direction. Never a thank you. It wore me down, I won't lie. But I told myself, this is what love looks like sometimes. This is what fatherhood costs when you come in late. You're not the first. You're the replacement. You earn it inch by inch. Still I gave. When she got her license, I bought her a used Civic. When she got sick, I left work to drive her to the doctor. When prom came, I drove her and her friends so they wouldn't have to spend money on a limo. I waited in the parking lot until midnight, engine running. She didn't even say goodnight when she got out. Mary said, teenagers are just like that. Don't take it to heart. But I took every shrug, every eye roll, every avoided conversation like a nail in the coffin I was building for my illusions. Still, I kept trying. Evenings were the worst. We'd have dinner or try to. Chloe never wanted to sit at the table. She'd microwave leftovers and take them to her room. If we asked her to stay, she'd complain. If I insisted, Mary would give me a look. Let it go, that look said. Why make it a battle? But one night something cracked. Something small. Something that changed everything. It was a Tuesday. I remember the smell of the food: chicken stir-fry, rice, garlic. Mary had worked late, so I cooked. Chloe was in the living room watching some reality show at full volume. I called her to dinner. No answer. So I stepped in, smiled and said, "Hey, mind turning the TV off? Let's eat together." She didn't pause, didn't mute it, didn't even glance at me. She said, "I hate it when you even open your mouth." Just that. Calm, cold, surgical, like she'd been waiting for a chance to cut me. The words didn't echo. They stabbed, quick and deep. I looked at her. I looked at Mary. Mary froze for a second, just long enough to make hope flicker in me. Then she turned back to the plates and said, quietly, "Chloe." That was it. No real correction. No rebuke. No outrage. She didn't defend me. Didn't defend us. Just the softest nudge. The kind you give a child in public to save appearances. I stood there for a full second longer than I should have. Waiting for something, anything, that would tell me I wasn't alone in this house. It never came. So I sat down and ate in silence. The rice was dry. The stir-fry was cold. I chewed each bite like it might be the last meal I ever shared with them. And maybe it was. Not physically, but spiritually. Something died in me that night. I realized I had spent 8 years building a bridge no one else was walking across. 8 years pouring time, money, care, and love into a girl who saw me as nothing more than background noise. A man to tolerate. A shadow to walk past. An ATM with a pulse. And worse, her mother had let it happen. I told myself they were just cold. That love was hard for them. That maybe they didn't know how to say what they felt. But that night, in the silence that followed Chloe's words, I finally saw the truth. They weren't cold. They were comfortable. Comfortable with a man who provided without protest. Who absorbed every slight with a tired smile. Who gave and gave and gave without ever asking, "What am I getting back?" They didn't see me as family. They saw me as furniture. And I knew, deep in my bones, that something had shifted. Not because of what Chloe said, but because of what Mary didn't. That silence was louder than any insult. Told me, "You're on your own. You always were." That was the moment the illusion shattered. The moment the mask of blended family slipped off and revealed the truth underneath. And I sat there, chewing cold rice, staring across a table that had never once felt like home. That night I lay in bed beside Mary, our backs turned toward each other, an ocean of silence between us. Her breathing was even. Sleep came easy for her, always had. But I stayed awake, eyes open, chest hollow, replaying Chloe's words in my head, over and over again. "I hate it when you even open your mouth." She hadn't flinched when she said it. She didn't yell, didn't slam a door. It was worse than that. It was casual, effortless, like the truth had always lived on the tip of her tongue, waiting for the right moment to slip out. And Mary, she just let it land. Let it sit in the air like a fart no one wanted to claim. I watched the ceiling blur in the dark. I counted the slow, red numbers on the alarm clock. Midnight. 1, 2. I kept thinking about the stir-fry, about how I chopped the garlic too fine, about how Chloe used to eat garlic when she was sick and swore it made her feel better, about how stupid it was, all of it, that I remembered that when she didn't even want to hear my voice. I tried to rationalize. Maybe she'd had a bad day. Maybe something had happened at school. Maybe I was overreacting. But none of those thoughts stuck. They fell apart the moment I remembered Mary's silence. That tiny, devastating sigh of hers. The shrug in her voice. That's what made it real. That's what made it permanent. I spent 8 years convincing myself I had time. That I could earn my place. That if I just loved enough, gave enough, endured enough, eventually, they would see me, respect me, maybe even love me. But now I saw the truth. They had seen me all along, and decided I wasn't worth the effort. Sometime before dawn, I made the decision. It wasn't loud. It wasn't violent. It was the quietest thought I've ever had. Like a window sliding shut in a dark room. I decided to disappear. Not physically. Not yet. I decided to stop feeding the hand that slapped me. I decided to stop being the ghost that kept their lives running. At 4:22 a.m., I got out of bed and walked barefoot to my home office. The carpet felt cold. The door clicked softly behind me. I sat down at my desk and opened my laptop. First, I opened my banking app. I stared at the numbers for a long time. Joint accounts, credit cards, the autopay setups for the phone bills, the car insurance, the gas cards. Everything Mary and Chloe relied on. All under my name. I took a breath. Then I started clicking. One by one, I turned them off. First, the transfers to Chloe's college fund, gone. Then the allowance I'd been quietly sending her every month since she turned 16. Gone. Then the shared checking account Mary used for groceries and utilities, locked. I transferred the bulk of the money into a private account she didn't know existed. A backup I'd created years ago and never used. Until now. I watched the confirmation emails roll in. One after another. Your payment has been canceled. Your transfer has been withdrawn. Your authorization has been removed. Every sentence felt like a quiet exhale. I moved next to passwords. Utilities. Subscriptions. Streaming services. I changed them all. Left the Wi-Fi password the same. Let them keep their little comforts. Chloe's number was still in my phone. I didn't delete it right away. I stared at it for a long time. The photo was still there. Her in a cap and gown, half smiling, eyes already drifting past me even then. I clicked edit and erased it. Just a number now. No name, no face, no history. Then I turned off my phone and sat there, alone, while the house slept. The sun rose quietly. Mary stirred beside me when I slid back into bed. She mumbled something. I didn't answer. She didn't notice. By the time the morning routine began, showers running, the kettle hissing in the kitchen, I had already packed a bag. Nothing dramatic. Just enough clothes for a week. A few books. A toothbrush. My laptop. I tucked it into the trunk of my car, then came back inside and made coffee like nothing had changed. Mary asked if I was going to work. I said yes. Chloe didn't speak to me. She never did in the mornings. That used to sting. Now it felt like a relief. Before I left, I grabbed a pen and a sheet of printer paper. I wrote one sentence. Now you'll have to learn to listen to the silence. I folded it once and left it on the kitchen counter, right next to the coffee Mary hadn't thanked me for. Then I walked out the door. No door slam. No angry words. Just the quiet sound of a man choosing to disappear from the world he built. I didn't answer their calls. Didn't respond to their texts. For a while, they didn't even notice. That hurt more than anything. 2 days passed before I got the first message. It was from Mary. Hey, did the bank glitch? Are cards not working? Then another. Hey, I tried to call, we need to talk. Something's wrong with the account. Then Chloe. My phone says I'm past due. Can you fix that or whatever? Still polite at first. Still hopeful. But by the 4th day, the tone shifted. Mary again. This is insane. What are you doing? You can't just vanish. This isn't how adults handle problems. Then Chloe. Wow. Real mature. Are you seriously ghosting your own family? My family. That phrase stuck in my throat like gravel. I didn't reply. Not because I didn't want to, but because I'd finally learned what my silence was worth. It was the only language they'd never bothered to learn, so I made them fluent in it. I found a small rental across town. A 1-bedroom. Sparse. Quiet. No framed photos. No half-finished puzzles on the coffee table. No sound but the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional groan of the pipes. Felt like oxygen. I slept better that week than I had in years. On day 7, the messages grew frantic. Mary sent a string of them. I can't pay the mortgage this month. Why are you doing this? We need you. Chloe's tuition is due next week. What do you expect us to do? Then came the guilt. She's just a teenager. You're the adult. You don't punish a kid for being angry. You're blowing this way out of proportion. Don't make me choose sides. That last one. That was the one that made me laugh. Don't make me choose sides. As if she hadn't already. As if silence hadn't been a vote cast with both hands. I read the messages. I didn't respond. Each one was a thread being pulled from a sweater already unraveling. Then Chloe sent one more. It was just words. I stared at that message for a long time. 3 days later, I learned they'd missed the mortgage payment. Mary tried to get a temporary deferment. It didn't go through. She called again. The line went to voicemail. The silence stretched. Days passed. Then, finally, a letter arrived, forwarded from the old address. Mary's handwriting on the envelope. Inside, a single page. No greeting. No signature. Just one sentence. It's the first time I've ever seen her cry. I read it twice. I folded it slowly and set it down beside my untouched coffee. Then I walked out onto the porch of my new apartment, sat in a cheap plastic chair, and listened. The street below was quiet. A breeze shifted the tree branches. Somewhere a dog barked. And in that silence, the same silence Chloe said she hated, I finally felt peace. It was the first sound I had truly earned. The silence didn't stay clean. It never does. At first, it felt like freedom, quiet mornings, a rented room that held no history, no expectations. I woke up to my own breath. Not the sound of someone slamming a cabinet or stomping down the stairs. I made coffee for one. Ate standing at the sink. No forced small talk. No eggs going cold while waiting for someone to acknowledge I existed. I was alone, but I was also whole. For a while, that was enough. The phone stayed off for days at a time. I didn't check emails. I avoided the mailbox like it might contain regret. I walked the streets near my new apartment in the early mornings when the air was still heavy with dew. People passed me. Strangers indifferent. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I owed anyone anything. Then the voicemails began stacking. When I finally powered the phone back on, the screen flooded. 32 missed calls. 19 voicemails. Dozens of messages. All from Mary. I didn't listen to most of them. But one night something made me hit play. Her voice filled the room like a ghost dragging chains. Chloe got kicked out of school housing. They said the tuition never cleared, so they pulled her dorm spot. She's living back home now. She's angry all the time. I don't know what to do. We need to talk. Need. That word again. Always the same. Always what I could do for them, never who I was to them. The message ended. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just the same plea wrapped in different desperation. I poured a drink. Bourbon. Cheap, but it burned the right way. Outside, the streetlights buzzed. My breath fogged the window. I watched the people below. A couple arguing. A dog pulling its leash. A man in a beanie walking alone. And I thought, they're feeling things. Saying things. Living in the open. All I ever did was give. Quietly. Invisibly. I was the scaffolding. The steel under the skin of a house that smiled only when it looked good in photos. They never asked what it cost me. They never wanted to know. 2 days later, another letter arrived. This one had no envelope. Just a single sheet of lined paper, folded unevenly. The handwriting was Chloe's. Sharp, rushed, angry. You're a coward. You walked out like some victim, but you're the one who ruined everything. We didn't ask you to be our dad. You just showed up and expected it. And now you're punishing us because we didn't give you the performance you wanted. Congrats. You win. Are you happy now? I read it 3 times. No apology. No understanding. Just rage disguised as logic. Just a child trying to make her fire look like light. I didn't respond. What could I say? Yes, I showed up. Every single day. And you spat on it. Every single time. But I didn't write that. I didn't need to anymore. They were finally living without the net I'd tied beneath them. And now the ground was real. Later that week, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Voicemail again. This time, a man's voice. Hi, this is James, Chloe's father. I heard about what happened. Mary told me you've left. Look, I'm not trying to step on anything, but I can't cover Chloe's tuition. I'm just not in that place financially. If there's anything you could do, even just a little to get her back on track." I ended the message there. Of course. Of course now he found his voice. Where was it when I was paying for every textbook? Every gas tank? Every damn sports fee she handed over without a thank you? But now that the weight's fallen off my shoulders, suddenly I'm needed again. Not wanted, just needed. I turned off the phone and poured another drink. A week later, Mary showed up at my door. No warning. I was eating cold leftovers out of a plastic container. She knocked twice, firm and familiar, like she still had a key. I opened the door because I was too tired to pretend I wasn't home. She looked worn, pale. Her eyes had that hollow look. Not from crying, but from trying not to. "Can we talk?" she asked. I stepped aside. She walked in like the place owed her softness. She looked around, took in the cheap couch, the bare walls. I watched her shoulders twitch, like the room itself offended her. "I don't know what you think this is," she began. "But you've made your point." "My point." I sat down. Didn't offer her a seat. She stayed standing. Her hands moved constantly, wringing, folding into fists, brushing her hair behind her ears. "Chloe's hurting. She won't say it, but I see it. She doesn't eat. She barely speaks. She's flunking her online classes." I didn't say anything. Mary stepped closer. I know she was cruel. That night, what she said, I should have said something. I froze. I was tired. I didn't want another argument. "But you have to understand. She's a kid." I stared at her. "She's 20. She's your daughter." "No," I said. "She's your daughter." I was the man who filled the gaps, not the man you let lead. There's a difference. Mary sat down then, slowly, like her knees had gone soft. "She wrote you a letter. I read it. She doesn't know how to say sorry. She knows how to say everything else." Mary looked away. For once, she didn't defend her. She didn't excuse or deflect. She just sat in it. "I miss you," she said. That landed heavier than I expected. But I didn't move, didn't soften. "You miss the support," I said. "You miss the automatic deposits, the silence, the man who took the hits and didn't flinch." "No," she said too quickly. "No, that's not fair." "Isn't it?" She didn't answer. The silence stretched between us, tight and trembling. Finally, she whispered, "So that's it? You're just gone?" I looked at her. "You let her spit in my face, and you wiped her mouth for her after." She winced. "She said I made everything worse just by speaking, and you said nothing. Not once. Not even after." "I didn't know how." "That's the difference between us," I said. "I didn't know how either, but I still showed up." Mary stood then, slowly, like the truth had taken weight in her spine. "She's hurting," she said again. "She should be. She's young. She's not stupid. She knows what words mean. She chose them." Mary crossed her arms. "And you chose to vanish, to take everything and run." I stood too. The chair creaked behind me. "No," I said. "I took myself. I left everything else. The house, the memories, the meals, the years. I left them. What I took, what I reclaimed, was the part of me that stopped existing the day you both decided I didn't matter." Her face trembled. "You're punishing her." "I'm teaching her," I said. "Teaching her what? That love disappears? That if she says one wrong thing, that respect is not optional," I snapped. "That people who carry you aren't furniture. That you don't get to mock the hands that feed you and expect them to keep giving." She looked like she wanted to argue, but there was nothing left to say. I walked to the door and held it open. She didn't move. "I didn't think you had it in you," she whispered, "to be this cold." I looked at her one last time. "You taught me how." She left. I shut the door behind her and leaned my head against the wood. That night, I stared at my reflection in the dark window. I looked older, not in the way time ages a man, but in the way disappointment does. 8 years. 8 years of building a life that couldn't even hold one insult without collapsing. And now they were falling apart. Not because I wanted them to, but because they had never learned how to stand without leaning on me. The bill had come due, and I had stopped paying. They didn't stop calling. Mary, Chloe, even James, the man who vanished for most of Chloe's life but now had the nerve to dial my number like we were teammates. I stopped answering after a while. I'd listen to the voicemails sometimes, usually late at night when the walls of my apartment felt too clean, too quiet. Mary's voice grew thinner with each message. Chloe stopped altogether after the third one. The one where she screamed, "You abandoned us!" Like I hadn't been abandoned first. That was the one I listened to on loop. 5 times. 10. I lost count. Funny how they all became fluent in grief once the money stopped flowing. Once the meals stopped being made. Once the silence turned permanent. They thought I'd blink. They thought it was a tantrum. That I'd come back once I cooled off. They didn't understand that I hadn't left in anger. I left in clarity. Clarity is colder than rage. It doesn't slam doors. It closes them quietly and locks them from the inside. I heard through a neighbor, one of Mary's old friends who still followed me on social media, that they were trying to sell the house. Mortgage had fallen behind. The savings account was dry. The Civic I'd bought Chloe got repossessed. Mary had started waitressing again. Nights and weekends. Chloe was working part-time at some smoothie place, sleeping on the couch in a 1-bedroom apartment she shared with 2 other girls. "Things are rough," the friend said, voice lowered like I should feel pity. I didn't. Not then. I had tried to build a raft for them. For years. I patched the holes, bailed out the water, rowed while they complained about the scenery. When I stopped rowing, they blamed me for the sinking. But they never learned how to swim. That wasn't my failure. It was theirs. One afternoon, I opened my door and found Chloe standing in the hallway. Thin, pale, different. Her eyes didn't have that high school fire anymore. That casual disdain she used to wear like perfume. She looked like someone who'd walked through smoke for weeks and had only just realized there was no exit sign. She didn't speak right away. Just stood there. "I found you through the utilities," she said finally. "Your name's still on the old Wi-Fi bill. Traced it." Smart girl. She always was. Too smart for her own kindness. I stepped aside. She walked in slow, careful, like the floor might give way. She didn't sit. Neither did I. She looked around, saw the folding chair, the microwave meals, the stack of library books. "This is where you live now?" she asked. "This is where I breathe now." She flinched like I'd hit her. "I'm not here to ask for money," she said quickly. "I know that's what you think. That I came here with some speech about tuition or rent or... Why did you come?" She swallowed. "I wanted to see if you hated me." I blinked. "I don't hate you, Chloe," I said. "I just stopped sacrificing myself for someone who never saw me." She looked at the floor. Her voice dropped. "I was cruel. You were honest." She shook her head. "No, I was lazy. Saying you weren't my dad. It was easier than admitting I didn't know how to be a daughter." The silence that followed wasn't heavy. It was clean, earned. "I thought love was automatic," she continued. "That it came with blood. And when it didn't, I got scared. So I shut you out. I waited. I saw you trying," she said. "Every day. Even when I acted like you didn't exist. Even when I said things that should have made you leave. And when you finally did, I hated you for it. Because I stopped giving." "No," she said, voice cracking. "Because it proved you were real. And that scared the hell out of me." She finally sat, slowly, cautiously, like the chair might reject her. "I don't have a right to ask you anything," she said. "I just wanted you to know that I see it now. Everything you did. Everything you carried. I was a child, but not too young to be better than I was." I nodded. "I'm sorry." That word didn't echo. It landed. For the first time, it wasn't a weapon. It wasn't leverage. It was a truth she had to dig out of herself. And maybe, just maybe, that mattered more than any title. She stayed for tea. Didn't ask for anything. Didn't make promises. Just sat there and let the silence exist between us without trying to fix it. When she left, she paused in the doorway. "I don't expect you to come back," she said. "I just wanted you to know that if you ever do, you'll be walking into a house that finally understands what it lost." Then she was gone. No hug. No, "I love you." Just a small, broken offering of truth. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel empty after she left. I didn't go back. I didn't call. But I did something small, something quiet. I reopened the 529 college fund. I didn't tell anyone. Just set up a monthly deposit again. Small, modest, nothing flashy. She'll find out eventually. Or she won't. It's not about her. It's about me. About being able to look at myself in the mirror and know I did the right thing for me. Not for their approval, not for thanks, but because my love, when it's real, doesn't need a stage. It just needs boundaries. So where does that leave me? In a rented apartment with too much silence and too little mess. With meals for one. With nights spent rereading old books and learning how to exist without being needed. I miss things sometimes. Her laughter from the next room. Mary's tired hums in the kitchen. The illusion of belonging. But I don't miss being invisible. I don't miss swallowing myself whole just to keep their world spinning. I don't miss buying love by the pound and being paid back in contempt. No. Now, when I make a choice, it's mine. When I speak, it's not hated. When I give, it's deliberate, not expected. And that, in the end, is worth everything I lost. So I'll leave you with this. Was I wrong to walk away from a family that never opened their arms? Was I cruel to let them fall just so they could finally feel the floor? Or was it the only way left to teach them that even the quietest man has a breaking point? And when that point is reached, the silence we leave behind is not punishment. It's truth. The question is, will they learn from it? Would you?